Hi everyone, this is going to be part one of a multi-part series on catching smallmouth around the Ohio Islands. Today we'll be covering Kelleys Island. It'll be part one of a multi-part series. The purpose of the video is to share information that I know I've gathered over the years. I've stopped tournament fishing for personal reasons. Mainly the water's getting a little crowded around there. It's getting pretty popular, so if I can, I want to pass this information along to anybody that wants to gain either more information, catch more fish, maybe you only make it up twice a year, something like that. Hopefully this will help you catch more fish. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with access launches that are semi-close to Kelleys Island. You're still talking closest boat access is 4 to 5 miles to Kelleys Island from the main shore. And there's always an option to trailer your truck and boat to the island via the Kelleys Island ferry. Last time I did that was quite a few years ago, so I'm not sure on the price to do that. Obviously you'll have to get accommodations over at Kelleys Island during your stay as well. So alright, we'll get right into it. Boat access. Missouri is your best option just because it's close, easy access for Marblehead. Everyone's pretty quick getting their boat in around there, unless you're there on a holiday weekend. Obviously it's going to be crazy. But Missouri, I found, is the closest and best access to fish Kelleys. I'll pull up the address here, 8957 North Shore Boulevard, Lakeside, Marblehead, Ohio, 43440. So go ahead and jot that down. Next option is the campground at East Harbor State Park. Here, semi-close access. You're coming out at Missouri, close to Missouri, so you're talking 4 or 5 mile run up to Kelleys. The only problem here is you need to idle, or you can run across East Harbor. Just be wary of the no wake buoys. Forgot to cover, these are both free ramps. The Missouri boat access and the East Harbor State Park are both free access. The next option, which you can either buy a season pass for, or it's $7 a day to launch, is, now this is called the East Harbor State Park boat ramp, but it's in West Harbor. So it's located on North Buck Road, which is where, I think that's State Route 53. Or 269. 269. Where 269 basically dead ends. You've got this little marina here with a private boat ramp. It's a good option on holiday weekends if you don't want to deal with all the craziness. Like I said, it's $7 a day, or you can buy season pass. I think the season pass is $75. So if you launch multiple times, it's pretty well worth it. Especially if you're fishing tournaments out of West Harbor, or just want private access all year. The next option is a place called Midway, which is a free public boat ramp. West Harbor, it's labeled as West Harbor Public Boat Launch here. The old term, we used to call it Midway. So here's the address on that. It's just past the Sunoco station as you're heading north on Catawba Road. Decent launch, ramps real steep, so if you have problems with steep ramps, I'd avoid that. Like East Harbor Campground, this is a long idle. You need to idle all the way up through West Harbor. Here's the buoys, there's a channel there. Channel, then you're free. And then that's 4 to 5 miles to Kelleys from there as well. So, and same with this private launch come out, go up the channel to the mouth, and 45 miles. All right, now we'll cover some of the spots that I've done the best at in the past years that have been. I'll go over what times a year, depths, stuff like that. So let's go over to Kelleys Island, and I'm going to switch over to Navionics chart viewer for this. It'll be easier to show you guys the contours that I'm fishing. So we'll start on the south shore of Kelleys Island. I have fished this entire south shore. I've caught fish on the south side of Carpenter's Point here, and I've caught fish over here in this rocky, it's like a long, gradual, rocky flat that gets deeper as it gets down off the southeast corner of Kelleys. But my most productive area, an area that I've always caught smallmouth in, is in between this marina, the Kelleys Island Marina, and there's a jetty that comes out. Now it shows it as land here, but some of it's underwater on the end. So this, between this jetty, hopefully you can see my mouse cursor here, between this jetty and this marina. Now, the depth is going to depend on the time of year you're fishing. So during ice out to spawning, which is mid-April to mid-June, not saying you can't get out in March and stuff like that on a warm year, but let's, for video purposes, say mid-April to mid-June to late June, you can catch these fish relatively shallow, 10 foot and under in between these two points. Crankbaits, 10-foot diving crankbaits, color of choice, whatever you prefer throwing. Drop shot, I throw a darter with an 1/8 ounce weight, and tubes, obviously. Tubes is a good all-around bait in this area. Now, as the weather starts warming, the water starts warming, those fish are getting off the bed, starting to move around. May notice you're catching less fish shallow, and it seems to vary by a week or two every year, just depending. These fish will start to move out, and I'll start fishing 10 to 16 to 18 foot deep, and you'll see there's a rocky underwater point that comes out here. I've always done good. This area holds fish all year, but that time from the spring to like early, late summer, so August, you can catch fish here on these rocky outskirts here. You want to move out to about 16 foot of water, 16 to 18 foot in front here. And I have not tried deeper than that in this area because I just haven't put in the time. But that's not to say that late summer you can catch them out here in 20, 21 foot, 22 foot, like we do on the other sides of the islands. And one other note, early spring, before these fish start to move up, if you do make it out in March, early April, to mid-April. I've caught them out here in 16 foot. While they're staging, they'll start grouping up and staging in their spawning areas. But this is a really good area. Next, we're going to move to the west side of the island. Carpenter's Point, pretty good spot to fish. Early, just like on the south side, you're going to want to fish shallow. Now these contours are kind of screwed up here. It doesn't show exactly what's going on underwater. It just kind of shows a gradual drop off, but it's not like that. It varies. So there, around this area right here, there are some giant rocks, rectangular rocks, Don't know where they came from, don't know why they're exact rectangles, but they stick up, and you'll see them if you're graphing in this area. Those rocks hold fish pretty much all year. Best time being spawning to late June. You can catch some really nice fish in this area. This whole area in here, 16 foot of water is good. All the way to this loading dock. I fished this side, which would be the south side of the old loading dock. This whole area, you can fish right against the dock. You can fish out from the dock. I've caught fish pretty much all year in this area. Haven't done real good on the north side right up against the dock. Now, this area between the dock and, let me find it, this point right here, the area between this dock and this point, late spawn, this area is fire. It's pretty good. 16 foot, 12 to 16 foot of water in here, drop shot, tubes. Never thrown a crankbait on this side. I've always thrown a crankbait on the south shore. But this side with drop shot is really good. Late spawn. You're talking till like the end of June, probably. Now the north side, I've spent some time on this northwest tip of Kelleys Island, and I think I've caught 3 bass off of it. Now, that's not to say there's a sweet spot in there somewhere that holds these fish, but I haven't found it. So I always drive right past that spot. There's an old like jetty that comes out north of this launch ramp here. I've caught fish off of it. Nothing huge, 3-pounders. Next spot in the early spring to about the end of June, and that sweet time frame to catch these fish. This whole area gets loaded up with fish, either pre-spawn, spawn, and post-spawn. Now pre-spawn, you're going to catch them in 16, 20 foot of water before they move up. Once they move up, sometime in May, they move up, and it just becomes great fishing. I'd say all the way from this underwater point, all the way down and around. One of the best areas is around this dock right here. In between this dock and say about here, there's a Boy Scout camp or Girl Scout camp, can't remember which one, in here somewhere, and these fish just like to spawn there for some reason. In May, that can be a great area to fish. Early spring and late spawn, you're going to want to fish off this underwater point right here. I usually sit in 20 foot of water, cast into about 10 foot of water. I'm sitting on one of these underwater drop-offs, done really good in those areas, not during the spawn, before the spawn and after the spawn. And I've also caught fish here late summer, into August, early September, when the fishing gets a little slow around the U.S. side. You can probably catch a couple fish off this point if you fish long enough. Okay, let's move on to the east side of Kelleys. Now, I have only fished the east side of Kelleys in late summer. So all my spots on this side of the island are deep. Talking 20 to 25 foot of water. So, and that's the only places I've ever caught fish on the east side is that deep. And it's probably because I only fish late summer over there. So now there's some really cool underwater points here. You'll see some big glacial grooves on your side scan. But what I do is I focus on these underwater points. See where it goes from 19 to 25? I'm going to slide my drop shot and my tubes down these drop offs, figure out where those fish are hanging, and then replicate it along the entire east shore. So at this point, I have done really well on. This point, I've done really well on. I tried here out deep one time, never got a bite other than sheephead. And this underwater point right here, I've done really good on. And this is all late summer. I've never fished over here in the spring. So, all right, that's mainland Kelleys. Now let's cover the shoals. These shoals are pretty self-explanatory. What I do with Kelleys Island Shoal is graph the entire shoal until I mark fish, basically. Either live scope or I'm side scanning. Side scan, you can pick up fish pretty easy on this shoal. It's pretty straightforward rock. If you're seeing the shadows of the fish right above the rocks, you're good to go. And then live scope, you can live scope around. I don't really have a sweet spot on Kelleys Island Shoal because those fish move around so much. Wherever the bait's at, that's where they're going to sit. Let's move up to Gull Island Shoal. This will be the final area of this video. So I have never fished up against this red buoy marks the shipping channel, where they don't go any more north than that before they hit it. I've never fished this real shallow area. When the water's low, you can actually see the rocks stick out of the water. Where I have fished is this northern side, in between that shallow area in Middle Island in Canada. This whole area can be really good, and again, I'm fishing this stuff mid to late summer, early fall. So these fish are 18 to 22 foot deep. Those are my depth targets out here on the shoals. And I have fished this western corner of the shoal, up on this hump and all the way down the sides of it. Been pretty good in the late summer. Now these shoals are, this Gull Shoal and this Kelleys Island Shoal, just a warning, it gets super crowded in the summertime. Everybody knows every spot. Don't be surprised if you see 5 to 10 boats sitting on each. But the fish like to hang out there. So if you head up this way and you don't have a Canadian license, those two are probably your best options mid to late summer. Trying to think if I missed any spots that need covered here. I think that's about it. So, well, hopefully this video helps y'all catch some fish. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. Like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on part 2. Thanks.